For thousands of years, the Greeks told more than one story about how the Olympic Games began. One of the darkest versions centers on a king, his daughter, a prophecy, and a chariot race that ended in death. Ancient writers spoke of a place at Olympia where the memory of a king named Pelops and the rivals he defeated was kept alive, a story built around a deadly race no one was supposed to win. But here's where it gets complicated. The ancient sources don't even agree on exactly what happened. Olympia is real. Its ruins preserve one of the most important sanctuaries of the ancient Greek world, a stadium, temples, monuments, still standing after thousands of years. But the story of Pelops, Oenomaus, and their deadly race belongs to Greek myth, not to archaeological history. No inscription, no tomb, no excavation confirms the events themselves. What we have instead are the words of ancient writers, retelling a legend that had already been passed down for generations before they wrote it. And that's what makes this worth telling. This isn't just an old bedtime tale. It's one of the ancient traditions used to explain the origins of something very real. The games at Olympia. Not the only one, either. As we'll see, even the Greeks themselves couldn't fully agree on how it all started. Let's go back to where the story begins. Generations earlier, a man named Tantalus had done the unthinkable, betrayed the trust of the gods themselves at their own table. The details are ugly enough that even the ancient sources tend to look away from them. What matters is the consequence. The gods never forgot, and the weight of it followed his bloodline for generations. This isn't a story about Tantalus, though. It's about his son, and what he chose to do differently, and what he chose to repeat. In the kingdom of Pisa, in the western Peloponnese, there ruled a king named Oenomaus, a man who loved exactly one thing more than his throne: his daughter, Hippodamia. She was, in every version of the myth, the most sought-after princess in Greece, which, for her father, was less a source of pride than a source of dread. An oracle had told Oenomaus something he could never unhear, that he would die at the hand of his daughter's husband. So he made a decision that would define the rest of his reign. Hippodamia could marry, but only a man who could beat him in a chariot race. And Oenomaus, notably, had never lost. Inside the palace, Hippodamia spent her days watching the road from her window, wondering if she would ever be more than a line in her father's prophecy. She didn't hate him for it. But there is a particular kind of isolation in being loved so fiercely that you're never allowed to leave. Suitor after suitor had already tried and failed. Princes, warriors, sons of kings, each one certain his skill would be enough. None were. The myth says their broken chariots lay at the edge of the field, a grim record of everyone who had tried before. One evening, a young man arrived at the gates of Pisa. His name was Pelops, son of Tantalus, though he carried little of his father's recklessness with him. Just a calm, unsettling patience, and eyes that already seemed to know how this would end. He had heard about Hippodamia. He had heard about the men who came before him, and according to the myth, he had already made up his mind. When Pelops finally saw her across the courtyard in the fading gold light, something in him settled. He didn't need luck to win her. He simply believed, with total certainty, that he would. That night, he walked alone to the shore and knelt at the water's edge. Not desperate, not pleading, just direct. According to Pindar, one of the oldest surviving sources for this myth, Pelops called on Poseidon, the god of the sea, for help. And the sea, the poet tells us, was listening. By morning, a chariot stood waiting for him, lighter than anything built by human hands, pulled by horses that never tired, a gift from Poseidon himself. In Pindar's version, that gift alone was enough to win the race fairly. But other, later traditions tell a very different story about what happened next. According to one later tradition, Pelops wasn't content to leave it to fair competition. He found Myrtilus, Oenomaus' own charioteer, and made him a quiet offer, one that would ensure the king never finished the race at all. It's a detail Pindar's version leaves out entirely. But it's the version that survived longest in later retellings, perhaps because it says something uncomfortable about how even the heroes of these stories were willing to win. The morning of the race, the entire kingdom gathered along the plain. Hippodamia stood beside her father, her face unreadable. 2 chariots lined up at the start, facing a stretch of open road that would decide everything: a marriage, a prophecy, a kingdom. The signal was given. Both chariots surged forward at once, wheels tearing through dust under the afternoon sun. For a moment, it looked like any other race. It wasn't. In that later version of the story, the bronze fittings of Oenomaus' chariot had been quietly tampered with the night before, replaced with something that could never survive the heat and friction of a real race. Halfway through, the wheels gave out. The king's chariot broke apart beneath him, and in a single moment, both the race and his long reign of fear came to an end, exactly the way the oracle had once described it. Pelops crossed the finish line alone. Hippodamia was the first to reach him, not as a prize being claimed, but as a woman finally choosing the direction of her own life. But there's one more thread most retellings leave out. Myrtilus, who had helped secure the victory, asked for the reward he'd been promised. Pelops didn't honor it, and in that single choice echoed the same failure that had haunted his father a generation earlier. The prophecy was avoided. The pattern wasn't. According to Pausanias, one of our main ancient sources on this region, Pelops later held games at Olympia in honor of Olympian Zeus, and held them, in his words, more splendidly than anyone before him had. But that isn't the only tradition. Other ancient sources credit the founding of the Olympic Games to a different hero, entirely Heracles. Even the Greeks themselves preserved more than one story about how these games truly began. The myth of Pelops is one thread in a much larger, tangled history, not the single, settled origin it's often presented as. So here's the question worth sitting with. Oenomaus spent his entire reign trying to outrun a prophecy, and the very effort he made to escape it may be exactly what brought it true. Was it fate? Or was it fear, deception, and one desperate father who couldn't stop tightening his grip? The ancient sources don't settle it for us. Maybe that's the point. And every 4 years, when the modern Olympic Games return, the ancient name of Olympia returns with them, along with the myths that once tried to explain why these games were held here in the first place.